All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. You'll notice in the announcements we had the volunteer recruitment meeting next Sunday after the service. We call that the Get Off the Bench and Get in the Game meeting. So that's a response to last Sunday's message. So that's right after the second service. Have you ever noticed in life that you're more likely to do something in a group than you would by yourself? Just kind of a thing that happens. Like sometimes those are bad things. Sometimes those are good things. But like in Lynn in the summer, if there's a teenager riding his bike down the street, like he just rides his bike down the street. But you put that teenager in a pack of other teenagers with bikes, all of a sudden they're doing wheelies for miles down. You can't drive anywhere in town. It blocks traffic and the whole thing. There's things you're more likely to do in a group than you're likely to do by yourself. And so we're gonna run with that theme today. I'm gonna ask Kawana to come up in our episode of reading the Bible together while Pastor Kurt rudely interrupts you. So she survived the first service all right. All right.
I'm even more ready for this one.
So we are in Mark chapter 10, verse 46. For those of you that might be relatively new here, we've been reading through the whole book of Mark, which is actually not that big. It's fairly small. And reading through it together as a church. And so we're you'll wrap it up this month, and we'll move on to another one next month. But we're reading from Mark chapter 10, verse 46. And remember what we're looking for here, Juana. What are we looking for?
The when, where, who, and why.
Who, what, where, when, why, how, right?
Yep.
Those the kind of classic reporter questions. You're also looking for what?
Anything that sticks out, confusion, or I know the last
challenging.
One. Challenging, there you go.
Something that challenges you, something that's confusing to you, and you're just taking notes. So when you read the Bible, if you're reading it in a digital platform, read it so you can highlight things and take some notes. If you're reading it in print, mark that thing up. Right? Sometimes people think it's like sacrilegious to write in the Bible. You should write in your Bible. It's okay. Just don't write like New Bible. That's against the law. That's against the rules. Okay, just make your notes about it. There. So we're going to be reading from Mark chapter 10, verse 46, and we're looking carefully, and we're reading slowly. We're not reading fast. We're reading slow on purpose. Okay? So here we go.
Then they.
Okay. So you're stopping like you knew I was going to stop you. Okay. You got to let me rudely interrupt you. That's the whole point here. Okay. So who's the they?
Jesus and his disciples.
Okay. So on your note, right, you would circle the they because they're a person. You would underline, asterisk, stick figure, lightning bolts, whatever it is that you do to mark. So it's Jesus and his disciples. So who are these disciples?
It's Peter, Judas, James, Andrew, John, Simon, Matthew, Thomas, Philip, Matthias, and Bartholomew.
Bartholomew.
I can't say it.
Okay. It sounds like she already knew the answers from the first service there, okay? So she's cheating right now.
I got my cheat sheet.
Okay. So the they is actual people. Why does that matter? It matters because if you read the Bible quickly, you just gloss over what is really happening there. You forget that it's actually a group of people with real names. And we've already been given those names from earlier on in the book of Mark. So we know who they are. So they have real names. But when you're reading the Bible, there are 3,237 Bible characters in the Bible. 3,237 is what I said. That's a lot of good luck memorizing 3,237. You're not going to do that most likely. But I do wish that the Bible had hyperlinks where when you read, I primarily read the Bible on digital platforms. And so I'll come across a name and I'll be like, I'm not sure who that is. I wish you could just kind of click the name and it would take you to a 60-second YouTube video of them, where they would introduce themselves. That would have been nice. I wish we had thought about that. 4,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago, okay? But there is a lot of stuff that you can do now that helps you understand who these people are. So let's go ahead. Then they. We got 2 words in so far. Great.
Reached Jericho, and as Jesus and his disciples left town, a large crowd followed him.
Okay. Jericho is, where are we at?
Jericho.
Jericho. Where is Jericho? So happy you asked. Look on the screen right now. Okay? Look on the screen. So I'm not pretending to be in this wheelchair. I hurt myself. So that's why I'm up here. That's why. So up at the top, there's this body of water called the Sea of Galilee. And it's right there. And then there's a little squiggly line. That's not a road, that's a river. That's the Jordan River. And then at the bottom of the screen is another body of water, which actually gets much larger, called the Dead Sea. The reason it's called the Dead Sea is because it's the lowest place on the earth. Literally, it's over 1,000 feet below sea level. And the water comes and it evaporates, and it's just all salty, which is why it's dead. Okay? So Jesus, as we learned last week, he was on his final trip. This is the last time he's going to move from where the Sea of Galilee is, just north of it's Capernaum, on the north side of it, and they're going to come down to Jerusalem for the very last time while Jesus is walking on the earth. This is a very important part. So he comes down on the left side or the west side of the Sea of Galilee, gets down to the part where the Jordan River is. He crosses the Jordan River over to the east side, comes all the way down, and then crosses back over to where they're going in Jericho. So that's the path they're going. If I were you, I would ask myself the question, why did he take that path? That seems unnecessarily long. Why did he cross the river twice? There are literally answers to all of those questions that you can find out, okay? And that does not mean come ask me after service, all right? You can ask me, how do I find out? That would be fine. I want you to find out. So Jericho is a little bit higher in elevation than the Jordan River. So last week we talked about where it says Jesus went up. It's because he was crossing the river and going up in elevation, several hundred feet up, actually, which takes a while. I do a fair amount of hiking. My hiking buddy would say I do no hiking whatsoever, but I do a fair amount of hiking, and it takes about 30 minutes to walk a mile in the woods flat, and then it takes an extra 30 minutes for every 1,000 feet of elevation, so that it takes extra time to climb those elevations. But so they're over to Jericho now, on their way to Jerusalem. That's where Jericho is. Just as a side note, Jericho might be the oldest city in the world, like the oldest walled city in the world. That's just fun. That's free. Okay, keep going.
A blind beggar named Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, was sitting beside the road.
Okay, so you have the name of another individual, Bartimaeus. He's the child of somebody named Timaeus. Those are things that you can research and try to figure out as well. Sitting beside the road. Why is the blind gentleman sitting beside the road?
Because he's begging.
Because he's begging. And why would he be doing that on the side of the road?
He's probably waiting for Jesus, or Jesus and his disciples.
Well, I don't know if he knew he was waiting for Jesus at that particular moment. But the road does not mean 128 or 95. He wasn't going to get run over by a car. This is where people walked primarily, or some animals, but walking in and out of the city. So he's on the road because people are getting ready to either end their journey or start their journey, and it's a good place to ask people if they have any money. Kind of like what people do right outside here when the commuter rail's open.
Right.
Right. If you got 50 cents in your pocket, good luck. All right? So a blind beggar out there.
When Bartimaeus heard that Jesus of Nazareth was nearby, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." "Be quiet," many of the people yelled at him, but he only shouted louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." When Jesus heard him, he stopped and said, "Tell him to come here."
All right. Who said be quiet? There on verse 48 it says, be quiet. Who's saying be quiet?
The crowd.
The crowd. The many of the people yelled at him. There's this crowd of people following Jesus. They want Jesus to do good things for them. And somebody yells out, and they don't want him to interrupt what's getting ready to happen. So that's what's happening here. They're asking him to be quiet. Or they're commanding him or yelling at him. Here's a guy they don't really like. He's annoying to them because he's disabled and he can't see, and he probably makes them feel badly about themselves, okay, for a lot of different reasons. So they don't want him to talk. But he keeps on yelling. You got to like a guy like that.
Right.
Where society says, shut up. You don't have a right to your voice. And you keep on yelling anyhow because Jesus is right there.
Right.
Keep going.
So they called the blind man. Cheer up, they said. Come on, he's calling you.
Okay, so Jesus did hear him. He tells a group of people to come. Who is it that he's asking to get the blind beggar?
To get him?
Yeah.
The crowd, like kind of.
They.
The disciples?
Yeah. So it's the disciples in the story are being told to go get Bartimaeus.
Right.
Okay? And so it says, so they called the blind man, cheer up. They said, come on, he's calling you, about the disciples. And then keep reading, verse 50.
Bartimaeus threw aside his coat, jumped up, and came to Jesus. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus asked.
Okay, pause, hard pause. What do you want me to do for you? I think that question, the compelling part of this story for me, one of them is, does Jesus ask us that same question? What do you want me to do for you? And notice Bartimaeus' response.
My rabbi, the blind man said, I want to see. And Jesus said to him, go, for your faith has healed you. Instantly the man could see, and he followed Jesus down the road.
Okay, now, so the man gets healed.
Right.
Why? Because he doesn't ask for a nickel. You see, the reason that a blind beggar would normally try to get your attention as you're walking by is to give you money or food or something. So when Jesus is asking a clarifying question, it's intentional.
Yeah.
Would you like me, or would you like money? And it's a very interesting moment there, and I think that we can be challenged to say, okay, what do we want from Jesus? What do we really want that matters, that like we need? He needed to see, and that's what he wanted. So they're moving from, again, take note of where they are at in the story. Now they are moving from Jericho further up to Jerusalem. So physically stay engaged with the story as you're reading it. Try to imagine how many people are moving. There's Jesus. Then there's the 12 disciples. Now it says Bartimaeus is following as well. I wonder how far he followed. That's the question I asked myself. Like, I wonder how far he followed. Like, till the city was out of sight? Did he leave it all behind? Those are just things that run through my ADD brain right there. So that's what's going on there. So thank you, Juana. Appreciate it. Thank you. How do you do this? All right. Okay. Again, not a sermon illustration. Not a sermon illustration here. So Mark chapter 10, verse 10. Notice what it says. It says, Jesus and, somebody say and. Jesus and his disciples left town. Now, at the core of the story, you see the moment where you have Jesus and Bartimaeus. But there's other parts of the Jesus and. There's Jesus and the they, which is the disciples. There's Jesus and the crowd. There's Jesus and wait for it, the unwritten character in the story. There's an unwritten character in the story all through the book of Mark. It's Jesus and you. The unwritten character in the story is you. because Mark is intentionally writing this account of Jesus for you to understand how you can be a disciple of Jesus. So it's like you are photoshopped into the disciples, okay? It's like your head's popping up in an awkward way. They photoshopped you in. It's like you're supposed to be there. Mark is writing to you not for the exclusive sake of the historical record. Is there history here? Yes, but that's not the point. Rather, it's so you will be encouraged and become aware of the character of Jesus and how it is that true disciples of Jesus follow him, which is by doing what Jesus did. How do you follow Jesus? By doing what Jesus did. Those are just things to hold tightly and understand. So Jesus and you. Notice Jesus' disciples. The disciples are ever important. They are the ever important they in the story. You see, they followed the disciples, which means we're supposed to follow. They traveled. They listened. In verse 49, it said, when Jesus said, tell him to come here, they did. Then they obeyed. So they called the blind man. They encouraged. Notice it says, they called the blind man, cheer up, they said. Come on, he's calling you. I love this part. Why are they telling him to cheer up? Because he had a sad look on his face? No, because they knew that since Jesus had picked him out, there's a miracle about to happen. See, these disciples were a little dense sometimes, like us, but they had at this point figured out when Jesus calls you out, there's a miracle getting ready to happen. And that is a pretty neat part of this story. So the disciples were like, cheer up, you just won. Now, something that is also present in the story of the disciples that can easily get missed is the reality that throughout our accounts of Jesus, the disciples are the only ones that get to experience all of this ministry of Jesus firsthand over and over and over again. And the reason that these 12 guys got to experience this side of Jesus up close and personal repeatedly is because they were the ones that were willing to leave everything behind. You see, the underlying tone here is that in order to go after Jesus, you don't just go, you also have to leave. You see, there are many people that were invited to follow Jesus as he would do his ministry. But the people that held on to their past could not follow. And those that wanted to hold on to the positions of power they had, they also could not follow. And those that wanted to hold on to their opportunities and privileges, they couldn't follow Jesus because they wanted those things more than they wanted Jesus. Other people could have followed, but most did not follow. Some did. The truth is, when you hear about the crowds in the story, wherever Jesus went, crowds showed up. They heard about it and came. That's what fans do. When you're a fan, and like whatever your group is comes to town, like they made like the B-level tour, they're at the auditorium now. Like you show up, you're a fan. You don't follow them around the whole world though. Fans show up like that. There are lots of people that might have believed in Jesus. There might have even been lots of people that sacrificially, financially gave to the work of Jesus. There may have been many people that intellectually assented to the purest of Christology and spoke with the tongues of angels. But they couldn't follow Jesus because the other things had anchored them to the things of this world. To follow Jesus fully requires you and I to anchor ourselves to Jesus and Jesus alone. Anchored to nothing else. As if Jesus were standing at the door today saying, "Who's following me today? Leave everything behind." Everything. And that's the ones that followed. That's not a hard, that's not an easy call out. That's hard. Those that were willing to give up their old life in order to embrace a new and abundant life, that's why we call them the disciples. That's why we hold them in esteem, because they did something significant. They might have been a little dense from time to time, but they gave it all up. They laid down their life in order to pick up Jesus. They were a pack, right? They were a pack of disciples. In the TV series Chosen, which is a series about the life of Jesus, if you haven't watched it yet, please do. It's good. After the Bible account of Jesus going to the Samaritan woman, the director of the TV series imagines and captures this moment where Jesus and his disciples are. And after this moment, they kind of walk off together as if they're going to go get into some good trouble. Okay, let's watch it. It's worth watching.
You forgot your
Foxy, your man, you told me everything I ever did.
Rabbi, we got food. What would you like?
I have food to eat that you do not know about. Who got you food?
Wait a minute. You told her? And she can tell others? What food?
My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work.
You told her who you are? So does that mean...
It means we're going to stay here a couple of days. It's been a long time of sowing, but the fields are ripe for harvest.
And so it's time.
Let's go.
Yes! Throw me like a stone in the water, watch the mud rise up. Dress me like a lamb for the slaughter, pour me in your cup. Should've known we'd bring trouble, trouble gonna find you here. Trouble. Trouble. Trouble.
All right. So, to me, I love what they did with that, this iconic idea of the disciples, like this pack of men, and they're going off to get into some really good trouble. They're going to shake some things up. A pack of holy troublemakers. And the reason I'm calling this out today is because I believe we're all supposed to find our pack, our version of that. You see, the devil roams around stealing, killing, and destroying. But a pack of disciples goes around healing, restoring, and giving life. And the only things a pack of disciples destroys are the same things that Jesus destroyed, which are the works of Satan. So here's the point this morning. You were designed by God to be in community, to live life in a pack. Now, some of you are fiercely independent. I mean, so fiercely independent. You still think that you got to where you are on your own and nobody helped you. The truth is that you are not interested in trusting other people, that you have bricks, you built all the you put all the bricks in the wall up, and you do not want other people to be that intimately connected in your life. And that's just not the call of Jesus. The call of Jesus is to live in community and to live what we're calling a pack today. Now, others of you are just really introverted. That's me. Like, the first couple of years of the pandemic, you kind of felt bad because you enjoyed it. Like, you're probably introverted if that's you. Like, you felt bad that it was hard for some people, but you're like, what? I don't got to see people. I don't got to talk to people. I can pretend like I'm in a meeting but not really be in it by just like muting it all, I can just go read a book. I can order food online from the store. Like, this is amazing. Some of you, like, you got so used to it that you come to church once a month now, and you're like, wow, I can watch online all the time. It's great. I got 2 or 3 people that it's just me or myself and I, or maybe one other two, and that's it. But the introverted thing, for those of us that are introverted, even that's something that has to die. It's not that you don't have to be introverted, it's that you have to be willing to follow Jesus the way that he asks us to follow. In community, in a pack. But we cannot live life to the full, the way that God has designed us, without being in a pack. At least not the way that Jesus modeled. One could call this pack a spiritual family. Now, I know that family can be a triggering word. If you came up in a really healthy family, it's not a triggering word. But if you didn't, it is. So what we're talking about here is the idea of a healthy family. And as with anything, all families, all packs, can have challenges. An anonymous author once said, family can be heaven or hell. It will be as much of heaven as there is God in it, and as much of hell as there is the devil in it. I think we've all understood exactly what that means. So let me make this super clear for you. When you come to church, we are not trying to download spiritual content into your soul. We are not purveyors of religious goods and services. That's not what's going on here. This is not come and do your religious duty. What we are doing is we are inviting you to join a spiritual family, a pack. And as with any group, each pack has different privileges and responsibilities. For example, when you are part of a pack, the kind of pack we're talking about, you get an immediate safety net in your life. A safety net that helps to cover you and protect you and catch you if you fall. In the book of Ecclesiastes, in verse 7, he says, I observed yet another example of something meaningless under the sun. This is the case of a man who is all alone, without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can. But then he asks himself, who am I working for? Who am I giving up so much pleasure now? It is all so meaningless and depressing. Sometimes Ecclesiastes can be a little dark, all right? Like they needed to take some antidepressants before he started writing. Sometimes I think that, okay? But then he gets to the next part. 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person fails or falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, 2 people lying close to each other can keep each other warm, but how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. They're even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. Listen carefully. Somebody who falls alone is in real trouble. Over the last 2.5 years, as your pastor, I have watched far too many people isolate and the size of their pack shrink and shrink and shrink. And when they fall, they have no safety net. And it is hard to get back. It's just the hard truth. You need people, even if you don't want to. You see, the kingdom of God is ever expanding. The kingdom is to grow. It is to grow through love and compassion to a broken world that is invited to also join this pack and to join our family and to live like citizens of God's kingdom. So, we all need a pack. So I want you to answer the question quietly into yourself, who is your pack right now? Examine, think about who your real pack is right now. Are they Jesus-centered believers and followers? Because if they're not, you might need a new pack. How do you know? Well, think about it. Are they out there kicking demon butts, or are they out there smoking demon butts? You know? It's a good one. I'm going to trademark that. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. And I am talking about marijuana, in case you I am talking about marijuana. You're like, I don't smoke it, I just eat the gummies. I'm laughing on the outside, but I'm mad on the inside, okay? Just saying. Stupid marijuana. I don't care how many tax dollars we get from it. Oh, my head. Okay, think about your pack. It's about pack right now, okay? Not a pack, different kind of pack. Is your pack taking authority over demon spirits, or are they imbibing in demon spirits? These are questions you got to ask yourself. Is your pack the right pack? Escúchame. Listen to me. If you want to anchor yourself to world systems and worldly salves and packs that choose those things as a priority, then sure, you can become a fan of Jesus, but you won't really become a disciple of Jesus. Don't get it twisted. Collecting more knowledge of Jesus has never been the goal. Getting the most autographs and signatures from Jesus is not the purpose. Having the biggest collection of Jesus stuff. The end goal is now and always has been, will I lay my life down, my likes, my dislikes, everything, and instead pick up the life of Jesus? Will I set aside my things, my past, my power, my opportunities, my privileges, my rights, and instead choose kingdom responsibilities and discipleship? That's what it means to be a disciple. We honor the 12 disciples. We honor them because they gave up everything. They gave up their life and picked up the life of Jesus instead. I would encourage you that if you want to succeed in life as a follower of Jesus, you need to pick a like-minded pack to help you do it. So go get yourself a pack. Mark chapter 6, he tells us, Jesus went from village to village teaching people, and he called his 12 disciples together and began sending them out 2 by 2. How many people? 2. 2 by 2. Not alone is what that means. Not by themselves, but with somebody else. Somebody had their back. Giving them authority to cast out evil spirits. He told them to take nothing for their journey except a walking stick, no food, no traveler's bag, no money. He allowed them to wear sandals, which I think is nice, but not to take a change of clothes. Wherever you go, he said, stay in the same house until you leave town. But if any place refuses to welcome you or listen to you, shake its dust from your feet as you leave to show that you have abandoned those people to their fate. A little rough there. Moving on. So the disciples went out, telling everyone they met to repent of their sins and turn to God, and they cast out many demons, healed many sick people, anointing them with olive oil. Listen, if you want to do the stuff the disciples did, you got to do the stuff the disciples did. Just give it all up. Wow. We all need a pack. We all need the right kind of pack. Some of you have been like the lone wolves out there. You know, you've been just you, always just you. That's not what God wants for you. Some of you have had a pack for a long time. It's the wrong pack. And it's a hard switch. But that's not really the core question. The core question is, do you want to be a disciple of Jesus? And that's what the challenge is today. Do you want to be a disciple of Jesus? If so, get a pack. Stop hiding behind the pandemic. Get yourself a pack.